It's all about peace, spreading love in the world. So I gotta represent rebels for joy, positivity. You know that we're all about it. Magic happens when you align your purpose, passion, and power. Just believe in your greatness. I know for sure the light that you radiate too strong to ignore. Emotional revolution. It's time that we start. Love, we need more. We are rebels for joy. Woo!
Welcome, sister. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome to the Rebels for Joy podcast, where we are here to help you with your purpose, passion, and power, all fueled by joy, of course. I am one of your hosts, Jillian Bolanz, and dun 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 dun.
And Bonnie Kelly. Hey, girls. Hi, welcome.
Oh, do you like my little intro for you? That was really spontaneous, wasn't it?
Magical. Love it. Love it.
Hey, Bonnie has a gift for us to start off this podcast.
I do. Jillian and I were talking about one of the ways that we can continue to spread joy. And one of the things I often joke about is when people ask me, like, how are you doing? And I said, well, man, I came down with this really nasty bug. And they're like, what is that? And I said, well, I've been infected by a happiness virus, and it's my job to infect as many people as I can. Right? And so it's like joy is contagious is the purpose of it. And so being a rebel for joy, it's one of our things that we want to do is to spread joy. And so one way we could do that is through laughter. And so I've got a fun joke just for you. Okay, you girls
Bring
ready?
it on. Bring it on.
All right. What do you call fake spaghetti?
Fake spaghetti. I don't know. What do you call
a impasta. So ridiculous, right?
It's so ridiculous. But actually, that stuck with me, Bonnie, because you said that when you were at the beginning stages of your journey of doing your own inner work, you would call friends for 30 seconds and just tell them a joke because that would innately make them laugh. And laughter is contagious and it would make you feel good. And it's simple little acts like that where we can really, really reclaim the joy that some of us really so easily let leak out of us. So I always think about that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, actually. So one of the things I was talking about even on my Insta post this morning was just how healing is messy, right? So when you're in the healing process, it could be heavy, it could be hard, it could be messy. And so when you get way down in the thick of it, when you're processing through, you're shifting those perspectives, you're really challenging the inner crisis that you've been carrying around. One of the things to help you kind of shift back into joy is to be very intentional with creating joy. And the fastest way to do that is laughter. So what Jillian is talking about, what I would randomly do is I had a list on my phone of jokes, of just ridiculous puns and jokes and short stories. And when I needed a little happiness injection, I would call somebody and just tell them a joke because that would get them to laugh and it would get me to laugh. And then I could say, all right, I got to go. And in that 30 seconds, just brought me back to center, right? Brought me back to peace.
How easy is that?
Right? Yeah. But
we forget that it can be that easy and it's just so powerful. So one topic that I know that we're going to talk about today, or the topic that we're going to talk about today, is not necessarily an easy one to grasp at the beginning. Yeah. And it's one that we talk about a lot. It's one that it really stemmed from you, the terminology stemmed from you. And so I really want to give you the reins on this one to kick this off for us because this can seem like a big mountain to climb at the beginning of a healing journey for people. Yes. And it's really important. It's really empowering when we can finally feel the depth of the message that is behind the sentiment that you're about to share. So can you please share with us just the sentiment itself, and then let's just coach them up and dive deep into it. Totally. This has been really moving for the women in our Rebels University group, which is our year-long program. The concept of this has been really life-altering for them. And you said it at True You Live, which was the first live event that we ever spoke at, which was my event in 2019. You said it, and I just felt people's minds explode. So I'm really glad that we decided to bring this in as one of the very first topics that we get to share with our Rebels podcast listeners.
Yes. And that's really around the concept of acceptance. And moreover is the difference between the words of acceptance and acceptable. Because the quote of the day is acceptance does not equal acceptable. That's the topic we're going to really ground into today, is that acceptance does not equal acceptable. So we're going to talk about what that means, why that's important, and how you too can start to adapt into really kind of hone in on the purpose of this statement so you can have the emotional freedom that follows this statement.
Emotional freedom. I love that concept. I love that feeling that just gave me, just to like really let that sink in, like emotional freedom. Listeners, friends, girlfriends, how amazing would it feel to be emotionally free?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like the greatest gift you could ever give yourself
Mm-hmm.
is emotional freedom, right? Because it allows you to consciously decide how you want to feel in every given situation, whether you are sitting in line at the DMV, whether you are getting scolded by a family member, whether you are just getting, released or fired from a job. Emotional freedom gives you the emotional power to decide, how do I want to respond? How do I want to feel with these situations versus being reactive?
Yeah.
So we're consciously engaged with that. And I agree. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah. So what do we do with, well, let's talk about acceptance first, because that's the heavier bearing piece of the statement, I think. Because some really bad things happen to people in their lives, and accepting that they happened is not an easy task. So what do you have to say just to like really kind of needle into that a little bit more?
Yeah. And again, I just shared this on social media as well. So girls, if you're not friends with Jillian, or Rebels for Joy community, you got to find us on Instagram, Facebook, find our Facebook group, Rebels for Joy. We have a lot of these very deep, very intimate conversations in these areas. And we would love to invite you into that as well. But what I posted this morning was actually scary, because the first line was, I'm a child of sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of criticism, or, just consequences of saying something that depth or that in depth, it's very rattling to post that level of vulnerability online. And it's necessary.
Yeah.
We're in 2020. You know more than anything, Jillian, the energy of this year and the absolute essentiality of connection and purpose.
Yeah, connection and honesty, and really like showing up in your truth, even if it's really uncomfortable. It gives freedom not only to you but to other people. Because when you're the brave one, I always say this, when you're the brave one to go first, you allow so many walls to fall off of the people that are following you, that are watching you, and they know by juxtaposition that they can be that brave too. I just think it's so potent, and 2020 it's calling us into being more real, and not speaking from a place of wounds, like speaking from a place of scars. There's something to say for, if you are not healed, if you have not done the work around a certain situation, please give yourself some grace and a break, and do not go blast it all over social media. But if you are speaking from the place of the scar, and really utilizing that opportunity to help people to heal into theirs a little bit more, so much magic can happen from there.
And let's clarify the reason why, we're encouraging you not to blast it all over social media when you're in that wounded state is because you're in a weakened state. You're in a wounded, weakened state. And so when you blast that out there and you get criticism, you get negative feedback, you get, ridiculed, there's not a barrier of separation there where you would be able to possibly emotionally cope or handle with that without getting reactive or it wounding you further. So I just want to put some clarity on that, right? It's like, we want you to speak your truth. We don't want you to hide anymore, but we want you to speak your truth in safe environments. So Rebels for Joy, the group in Facebook, that's a wondrous place for you to be safe to express yourself in the wounded state. Mm-hmm. Whereas just out there into the world, you're opening yourself up to trolls. And I hear there are very bad things.
I know. I hear they're not very nice. So let's make sure that we are setting ourselves up when we're ready to look at those dark and hairy, scary places. Yeah. Let's make sure that we are setting ourselves up with support, true support, with sisterhood, with, others who can really hold space for that pain and call us up and out of it too. So that was a really good, I'm glad that we went down that little loop right there.
So good. So let's break down acceptance, right?
Yes.
So I opened that statement with, I'm a child of sexual abuse. And the reason why I opened that can of worm is so that you can understand is that I've had to go through my depths of healing, just like Jillian's had to go through her depths. We've all had to. But when I was on that healing process, that healing path, this idea of accepting that I was a child of sexual abuse felt like that I was condoning, pardoning, or allowing someone off of the hook. And the reason why that infuriated me, like made me so angry, was because the people closest to me did excuse the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are there to protect you swept it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, the injustice of this was constantly fueling this rage and this anger to want to seek justice, to want to seek righteousness, to have these people pay for the pain that I had endured.
Yes.
And so the idea of accepting for me equaled acceptable. It meant that I was letting them off the hook. It was that I was making it acceptable. So I resisted for a very long time.
Yeah. It's you thought like in saying like, oh, okay, I'm good. It means like, oh, you're good. It's fine that happened.
Yes.
And what we're talking about today is there are some really bad things that are not fine that they happened.
Yeah.
However, it is our responsibility to grow and to heal from those places, because it's actually not about the person in your situation or the people or the circumstances that caused the pain. And for you, listener, whatever is coming up for you right now, we know that it's got different variances.
Yeah.
It's not about that person or that situation. It's about you coming to peace with things for you.
Yes. Yeah. And acceptance is the first stop on the train of forgiveness. And again, there's such a bad rap around forgiveness. I mean, we'll do I promise you guys, at some point this year, we're going to do a whole series on forgiveness.
Yeah,
okay?
we go really deep in it in Rebels University. And
oh my gosh.
Bonnie, do you remember I texted you the other night and I was like, the forgiveness stuff is just so good. People need to know about this stuff. And of course, like Rebels University is such an incredible space for that. But it's like, there's just so many nuggets that can be such a service to people when talking about forgiveness, because forgiveness does seem like,
it's mucky.
Well, yeah. And you want to like cross your arms in front of your chest and be like, well, why should I? Yeah. I was the one that was hurt. Why should I?
Yeah.
And the answer ultimately is because you're the one that will feel free.
Yes. Because I deserve peace.
Yeah.
I deserve peace. And that's the hard thing to wrap your head around here. So the first thing is that accepting doesn't equal acceptable. It doesn't mean that we're pardoning, condoning, excusing behaviors for those who have hurt, harmed, or done wrong upon you. Instead, what it's doing is it's looking at the past as just that, the past. It's accepting that this is a part of my story. This happened. This is something that is a part of my story. I cannot change it. Actually, Omar Khayyam has an amazing quote where he says, "The moving finger, having writ, moves on. Nor all thy wit or tears can wash out a single word, nor all thy pity." I'm butchering the last part, but
you amaze me because you can rattle off that quote so well. Like, that's amazing.
I love it so much, but it's like no, nor all thy pity change a single word of it. So what is that quote saying? And I kind of butchered a little bit, but I feel like you guys understand. It's saying that the moving finger, meaning that as you're writing, it has been written. That no matter how much you fight, no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you resist, you cannot change or cancel half a line of what has been written. It's written. Now you can rewrite things moving forward, but you can't rewrite things in the past. So acceptance is this concept of just coming to terms with the history.
Yeah.
And accepting, like I have, that I'm a child of sexual abuse.
Yeah. From that state, what's the next stop on the train?
Well, and this is another quote, not that I have like a million of them, but I love quotes.
You do. You are like literally the quote machine, and it's amazing, and I love it. When I was a little girl, actually it was like high schoolish, I had this thing that I called the Book of Everything. And I would I would doodle in it. I would put photos in it. But most important to me is I would write quotes that I loved in it. And you are literally like a walking book of everything to me.
Yay. It's my superpower. So this other quote is by Joan Branco. And she says that you can forgive someone and still show up and testify in court.
Yeah.
And basically what is that saying is that you can release this energy. You could release the hurt, release the pain, release the anger, release the shame, and still hold people accountable.
Yeah.
Hence the statement of the day: acceptance does not equal acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I can accept that I am a child of sexual abuse. I can accept that that has happened. No matter how much I fight or cry or hold on to or not release the energy, that doesn't change the fact that that happened. So I accept it as part of my past and release the energy that is associated with it so that I can have inner peace, so that I can reclaim my joy. Sister, reclaim your joy, your happiness. I get that it's not fair. I get that they should, be held accountable. And part of that acceptance is also coming to terms with the fact that a lot of this stuff, there isn't justice.
Yeah.
There's not. And it's like, I have done all the things necessary through the courts, through the paperwork, through all of that stuff. And that person still hasn't been punished. Mm-hmm. And I've come to accept that that's okay. It's not acceptable. The world needs to change a little bit around this stuff, you guys. And there are strides. It is starting to move. And if there's ever another claim against this person, you can guarantee I'm going to be the first one in court to make sure that they go to jail.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to have peace the whole way through.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
What does that feel like?
Can I just take a deep breath?
Because I know. I just saw it. I'm glad you did, because I have never experienced that form of trauma in my life. And so, but I know that so many women have, so many people have in their own, men, right? Everyone. So many people have. We've all experienced our own different versions of trauma. Yeah. But specifically for that, because it is a topic of conversation that is coming up so much more. And with the whole sentiment of accepting is not, it doesn't make it acceptable. How does it feel after doing all the work around it to have that inner peace?
Oh gosh. Yeah, there's no words to describe.
Yeah.
There really isn't. This ability to love again.
Yeah.
This ability to laugh again. This ability to actually enjoy again. Yeah. Because when we hold on to our past, we do so at the expense of our future.
Oh, write that one down, ladies.
Yeah, that's not for me. That's another quote.
Fine. Bonnie Kelly and somebody else.
I wish I could remember the name of the person. I could see his face in my head, but I cannot think of his name off the top of my head. He's a reverend, but yeah, he said that if you hold on your past, you do so at the expense of your destiny, is the actual quote. Yeah. And that is so true.
It is. Because we've all experienced things that eat us alive, right? Like, and we just can't get out of that state of fear. For me, it feels like shackles. It feels like being in a cold cave or a cold cage. And it's like, it's the most uncomfortable feeling because it's filled with fear and it's filled with heartache and hardship. And to be able to gift yourself the freedom from that feeling based on you recognizing that, that was not cool. Yeah. In any sense of the word. And I'm going to accept that it happened because I am the one that has the key out of the cage that I've been locked in when I allow myself to accept and move on. And you said it perfectly, Bonnie, with love, with love leading the way. Yeah. Not that fear, not the rejection, not the hurt, but with the love.
Yeah. And it allows you to be emotionally present so that you can feel loved when others are loving you, right? So that you can express love when you are wanting to feel loved, right? I mean, there's just so many things that aren't available to you when you are shackled down by the pains of our history. Now, I want to make sure to clarify, mine's a little intense, right? Like mine's a little bit heavy. In fact, and mine's not the heaviest. I mean, I've met beautiful women who are doing amazing things in the world who have witnessed their family being murdered, right? Yeah. I have talked to some people that have been through horrendous stuff, not to say mine is less than or more than, but the reason why I'm sharing is because I want you to know that even if you're holding on to the betrayal that your sister did by stealing your clothes and then leaving them like at school, never to be seen of again when you were in high school, right? That still matters.
Yeah.
And I want to give you permission. So whatever it is that you're holding on to whatever dimension, to whatever degree, to please, please don't get stuck in comparison.
Right.
Don't get lost in that.
I say that a lot. Like we often want to like put pain on like a hierarchical scale of like, well, hers is worse than mine and mine is worse than hers. And it's like, at the end of the day, pain is pain, love is love.
Yeah.
Right. And so whatever it is, I don't want you to compare yourself to Bonnie or to me or to anybody else. It doesn't dim the experience that you're having with it if it's not quote unquote as bad as Bonnie. Yeah. That's not the point. It's looking at your situation and we, one of my biggest, most like favorite things to do is put a spiritual spin on things. And so for me, showing up in this lifetime, I believe that my soul had a contract, and I believe that I have gone through certain things that my soul needed to go through in order to learn the lessons that I was meant to learn in this lifetime. So I didn't have X, Y, and Z experiences, but I had A, B, and C experiences. That's why there's no experience that's better or worse than others. We all are meant to have the experiences that we're meant to have, sometimes horrible as they may be, and sometimes in a way that we can't even fathom, like I was meant to have that. But ultimately, when we get to that state of freedom and that peace and that love that Bonnie was talking about, then we have surmounted the situation that we were meant to, so that we could provide our soul with even deeper healing.
Oh my gosh, so true. You guys, I can't tell you how many of our students get lost in that comparison, and we have to constantly remind them as well, of this idea that, just because you didn't experience the level or the depth of pain that I did doesn't mean that your voice less matters.
Right.
It matters. And to me, I'm grateful that you don't have like for those of you who are listening that don't have the depth of pain that I endured, right? That you don't have the resilience level to that BS that I've had to learn to like shift through, right? Yeah. So I really want you guys to know that it's like, no matter where it is, no matter what it is that we want to move into this place of inner peace. So whatever you're holding on to from the past, okay, is to really wrestle in your mind to ask yourself, where do I need to find acceptance with this? Where do I need to find acceptance with this? What do I need to let go of that would allow me to become emotionally present? Knowing that by accepting, by releasing my inner pains doesn't equal acceptable. It doesn't mean that person gets left off the hook. It doesn't mean that person it's just scot-free and you would just allow them to walk all over you 500 other times. No, that's where boundaries come in. Mm-hmm. Right, well, trust me, we're going to do
plenty of podcasts about boundaries.
Oh, some of my favorite topics. Yep. These are a few of my favorite things.
So good. So, Bonnie, let's wrap up here. I think we've given a lot of really good nuggets. Ladies, we do want to invite you into our Facebook group, which is just a super, super solid community of support and sisterhood. And if you search Rebels for Joy on Facebook, you can, it's the only one, you'll find us. Come hop on in, and we love to just share the sentiment behind these things and really provide support in a free, open, sacred space. And we just want you to know that there are options and there are places that you can go to talk about, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to learn how to accept these things. And we would just love to like hang out with you and be the buds that we were meant to be, because like we say in our intro and our outro and all over the place, this isn't about me and Bonnie. This is literally a movement that we're creating here that is meant to have a ripple effect that really serves and uplifts the entire world. And we need you to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Right. And that starts with your willingness to do the inner work. Yeah. And it starts with your willingness to free yourself so that you could free the world as well. There's a reason on the airplane that it says, put your oxygen mask on first.
Amen, sister.
Right. Is that we need to be in a place that allows us the ability to help and serve more people. So if there's something that you haven't released yet, it is time. And this is your call for that. This is your awakening. This is your spiritual ping, whatever you want to call it, that says like, let's get it, girl. And if you need support, Jillian and I are here. Okay. Like you can connect with us on the community. You could get on our mailing list. You could send us an email. You can send us a DM. You can send us a PM, I think is what it's called on Facebook. You can just send us a message. Let us know how we could serve you. And then we're going to just be here to continue to support and guide you every step of the way.
Yes, you are amazing, our Rebel Sisters, and thank you so much for being here today.
See you soon.